Hello, friends, and welcome to the Weekend Catch-Up Club, the coffee morning show brought to you live every Saturday at 10 a.m. direct to Facebook and available later on youtube.com/gamertag. Today is a very special show. I'm actually joined in a group chat with members of our community by Liam and Liban. Gents, morning, and please introduce yourselves. Liam first.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, man, I'm Liam, also known as Cyberpunk. Good to see you guys.
Hi everyone, my name is Liban, aka Baby Mario. It's good to see you all.
Chaps, we have had one hell of a week of announcements. It has been just back-to-back bangers with Cyberpunk's Night City Wire episode just last night. The day before, we had this Nintendo Direct, and the day before that, we had the PlayStation 5 showcase. So we're going to kick off with the PlayStation 5 showcase. But first of all, Liam, what was your first kind of impression when you were watching the showcase and all of the subsequent announcements and everything?
I was quite impressed. Initially, I remember with the Final Fantasy 16 trailer first coming on, I was sitting there, I was like, is this Dragon's Dogma 2? And then
that would have been amazing. Dragon's yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I thought that too. Yeah.
Yeah, then just seeing the Square Enix pop up, I'm like, this is Final Fantasy, but it's going back to like the old style fantasy rather than trying to do like a twist with modern and like mixing fantasy in with like more modern stuff. And I was like, this is interesting to say the least. And as it went on, the announcements were all really, really good.
Yeah. When it was before we knew it was Final Fantasy 16, were any of you like me where I was confused between, is it going to be is it another remaster? Is it something to do with Final Fantasy 14 or is it 16? Because I was jumping between those two, or sort of those three potential, like, what is this that we're seeing here?
Yeah,
literally, yeah. I thought that most of the time it was Final Fantasy 14 because it looked like it to me.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, they're gonna bring this to the PS5. Like, yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Then they kind of they bamboozled everyone, didn't they?
They totally did. And then the announcement that it's going to be console exclusive. Like, what the hell?
Oh my god!
Yeah,
I popped for that. I was like, no, they didn't. No, they bloody didn't. No, they're taking this old school, aren't they? Like, no. I wonder how, other people who don't obviously play Sony consoles will react to that, because that's really, I don't think some people understand how big that actually is.
Yeah.
Like a whole Final Fantasy game, a brand new entry in the series that people have been asking for since 15 and whatever happened with that.
Yeah.
Is now exclusive to. So I mean, they say console exclusive. Chances are it's a time exclusive.
Yeah.
But that's still huge, man. That's
yeah.
really
You
big.
think it's going to be something like the Final Fantasy 7 remaster, where it is that time exclusive for a year or whatever that duration is going to be?
I genuinely think that it's going to be full scale, like exclusive for Sony, like the way that they done with the 7 remaster. Like they've said, it's a timed exclusive, and it will be eventually coming to Xbox. But they did actually have notices to say that when the Final Fantasy 7 remaster came out, that it was going to be timed.
Yeah.
And this one, it just said full scale. Yeah, this is a console exclusive with no like wee stars or wee tiny messages down the bottom to say timed. So more than likely going to be
like a Spider-Man situation where this is not going to ever come to anything else. It's just locked to the Sony platform. Man.
Well,
damn.
That would be absolutely wild. But what I mean, it was incredible to kick off the show with that. What were your like big surprises or big highlights other than Final Fantasy 16? Putting you all on the spot.
I mean, there was so many. I mean, it was just the first. I mean, I didn't expect to see that Hogwarts game. That was not on my mind at all, and how surprisingly good and interesting that looked. Miles Morales is always. I mean, Spider-Man's always going to be a great look at that. I was just happy at how different Miles was compared to Peter Parker.
Yeah.
In all his moves, his skills, his gadgets. And I'm just happy, like, the game still looks phenomenal, but also amazing, at the same time, it's coming absolutely, and at the same time, it's coming to both PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, which is pretty good. Man, it's just they had so many like just next, and they were all like, there was no real like down points for me. Like usually in these kind of events and stuff, like you're like, yeah, this is great, but there was no real like down point. It was like, okay, now I can breathe, I can calm down, catch my breath a little bit.
I think the only, I don't even want to say it like dipping point or meandering point was because it was still impressive, was probably the Call of Duty section. Whereas it maybe kind of lulled a wee bit, and then like around like bookending the Call of Duty bit was just these incredible announcements, incredible showcases. Miles Morales, the new combat system in there just looks insane, because I was worried that it's going to look and feel like an expansion to Insomniac's Spider-Man 1.
Yes.
But the new like invisibility powers, the electricity powers, the new like the polish for those like cinematic moves that he's doing by like jumping around, it frames Miles Morales in these close-up cinematic poses, but seamlessly kicks into the actual combat. I just think it looks absolutely tremendous. And the fact that it's coming out as a launch title for PS5, yes, it's coming out on PS4 as well, but a launch title for PS5 is going to sell gangbusters, I think, for PS5.
Yeah, definitely. Like Miles Morales, it looked awesome. I was really surprised. Like I know I shouldn't have been, since the last one was amazing, but it was really fluid, really just one of those games that I think that I'm going to be a wee bit like, is this going to be what is going to get me to twist my arm to buy this console?
Yeah.
Going back to what Liban said as well, that Hogwarts game, I'll be honest, I'm not a Harry Potter fan in the slightest. But
Liam, everybody in the chat is thinking that we've got Hagrid on the show. So come on, you can't possibly say that you're not a Harry Potter fan. I'm kidding. I jest, of course.
No, I've got another message for you, Ross. You're a wizard, Ross.
We've got some great beard escalation here. Liban is in the corner there, nicely trimmed. I've got a bit of good growth going on, and then we've got like the god tier Gandalf level of bearddom in the bottom there. Fantastic.
But I'll just pretend it's there.
Like the phantom beard. It's the new Metal Gear Solid. It's the phantom beard. But you guys are absolutely right. For me, I enjoy the films. I wouldn't say I'm a diehard Harry Potter fan, but this title, this title did look really tremendous, especially where it gave you those little snippets of like the wider world that looks like it's going to be more open world. There was a scene where two of the characters are flying these like winged horses, and it gave you this kind of idea of like the broader landscape, and that just looked tremendous. So it looks absolutely fantastic. And I don't know if it's co-op or anything like that. I'd love it to be, but if you can like create your own student, you've got the different houses, and you can just mess about with like potions. You can go into the grounds, into the woods, mess around there with like crafting and spell crafting and just messing about. I think this could be like a really great title, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. There was a lot of really good announcements. Like the one that was already announced that I'm still keeping my eye on is Resident Evil 8.
Yes.
Resident Evil 8.
That took me by surprise like crazy, because the last time we saw it, it was all focused around the village and like setting the tone, like that Resi 7 kind of vibe to it, like first person. It showed you like some of the grandiose like architecture, and I think it was like a ballroom or something. But what really threw me was it was like a story, like a fairy tale story that somebody was telling, and it gave you this like Tim Burton Nightmare Before Christmas, Corpse Bride kind of illustration scenes, and then it showed you like the main kind of gameplay that we'd seen before. So I'm now like super confused and interested by Final Fantasy VIII. I have to admit.
Yeah, like I was really interested in it, but like see how when it was showing you like the first person bits going through the village. I don't know about you guys, but I was getting really Resident Evil 4 vibes.
Yeah, 100%. I think
definitely.
I think that's right. From when they first unveiled it, and I saw the village, I thought, oh, it's going back to like a Resi 4 kind of feel.
Yeah, and I'd be 100% back in that for sure. And the whole werewolf thing, but that's confusing me. But at the same point, I'm excited to see them do something different rather than zombies or Lost Plagas. And
100%. Liban, you a Resi fan? Of course you are. I'm pretty sure you are.
Oh, I played, I played some of the Resi games. I have a feeling that you're the werewolf for some reason. Every time I see the trailers, or you're gonna turn into a werewolf for some reason or another.
You think that could be a twist
The only thing
on the
I'm worried,
gameplay?
yeah, that would be one hell of a twist. Like that was so crazy. But the only thing I'm worried about that game is that every time I've seen like trailers of it, and I don't know if it's just the video they're showing, but it always seemed a little bit framey to me. And then obviously through my own research, apparently there are like reports there that the game is struggling to run on the next gen hardware. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I did play Resident Evil 7. You know, the family man. I respect him.
Yeah.
And
he just wants to have everybody round at a table for dinner. You know, Sunday roast. That's what, you know.
That's all he wants. Eat dinner with your family. You know, even if he has to drag you by the neck, come eat some dinner.
Yeah.
But the Resident Evil games have been making quite the comeback. I think they've been doing, obviously when they remade 2, that was huge. 3 was okay, and then obviously now we're coming out with 8. So they seem to be doing pretty well with those now, and I'm excited for it. I'm really excited for it.
Capcom seem to be just on fire since Resident Evil 7 came out. They've just been delivering and delivering. They brought out, I think it was the following year, Monster Hunter. Then they did the Resi 2 remake, Resi 3 remake. Yes, it's kind of, some people loved it, some people thought it was kind of just like whatever. But in terms of a remake, visually just stunning. And now we're getting Resi 8. But in amongst all of that, we've got Devil May Cry 5. That's obviously getting ported to PS5 and Series X as well. Capcom are just on a fucking roll, like a really big roll at the moment.
I've got a buddy who's like a huge Capcom fan, and he's been doing a lot of research into it. And apparently, the way it's going to be working now is either every year or every other year, there's going to be some form of Resident Evil coming out.
Yeah.
So the next one is either going to be the Resident Evil 4 remaster, or it's going to be a Code Veronica X remaster, which I think we need more.
That could be awesome. That could be really interesting. We're getting some comments in the chat about like what the guys are really looking forward to from like current gen improvements. So Graham's mentioned that Ghost of Tsushima and Last of Us Part 2 playable on PS5 with improvements. That's all he basically wants, and I can get behind that as well, because the stable of first party games this generation for PS4 has been so mind-blowingly spectacular, with Insomniac Spider-Man, with God of War, with The Last of Us Part 2. God, even Persona 5, that are not first party, but they're like second party, coming in and giving like these exclusives. Like we got the Shadow of the Colossus full remake by Bluepoint Games as well. If all of these can get seamlessly ported over and enhanced somehow, then Jesus, what a generation to kickstart going into the next one.
Yeah, I mean, well,
sorry, man.
Go for it, Liam. Yeah.
All right, man. All I was going to say was, like, with the announcement of the new feature for PS Plus, where they're going to be throwing like all those epic games in and stuff like that, like Days Gone and like the whole 20-game library at launch. I've got a feeling they'll do that the same way as Nintendo do the NES and SNES games, like the legacy games that they do with their Plus subscriptions, where every couple of months they might just throw in an old PS4 game just for the sake of just, have some more games.
Yeah.
So they might wind up down the line getting like Ghost of Tsushima and all these fantastic games. Like we might even wind up getting stuff like Nier Automata and so many fantastic,
hugely underrated title that as well.
Hugely underrated. Yeah. It's criminal how underrated that is.
Do you think, Liam, I'll direct this one at you first. Do you think that this PS Plus collection is they're trying to do a counterpoint to Game Pass, but they obviously realize that they can't fully do what Xbox are doing with Game Pass. So this is like their kind of first leaning into that kind of model.
I could definitely see them trying to do that. But rather than having it like it's like a separate thing, because obviously Xbox has got their Live and then they've got the Game Pass, and maybe amalgamating them together. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm actually a PS Now subscriber, and I love PS Now. Recently, they have been absolutely
right here, buddy. Right here with you. Yeah.
But this to me feels like they might be using this as a way to scrap PS Now, which is kind of worrying me because I really do enjoy having that service. I mean, they've been adding games on every month for like times and things like that, like time games, but the games themselves are huge games. Like God of War's been added, Grand Theft Auto 5, this month's Resident Evil 7, and something else.
I'm wondering if because of the heat that xCloud is now getting over the past little while, and now it's officially launched, that it might maybe change Sony's thinking about if they were going to scrap PS Now, they're maybe going to rethink that and hopefully bundle it in with PlayStation Plus. Because PS Now, you're right, Liam, I've tried it a whole bunch of times, and it is pretty seamless. It's a really good experience. I was playing or testing out Doom 2016 on PS Now and Spider-Man, and they run so well. Like, it's really impressive how far the streaming tech has really come. Liban, what do you think about... Have you tried xCloud or PS Now?
I have actually tried a little bit of PS Now. Surprisingly, the game I tried on PS Now was the DMC Devil May Cry.
Okay.
And that's a really fast-paced game.
Yeah.
But it's just as you mentioned, it's pretty seamless. So I was really impressed with that. I always thought the next evolution of their services would be to fold, as you mentioned, PS Now into PlayStation Plus. I just thought it was just a natural step going forward.
Yeah.
Especially now that obviously they did come out with this PlayStation Plus collection. I feel like it's essentially just the next thing to do, really. Just bundle it into the whole service and at exactly the same price. And then at that very least, they will at least stay competitive to whatever Xbox is offering with Game Pass.
100%, man, 100%. Graham's mentioned in the chat, it could work that way for Sony, but it will take time for them to match what Microsoft have done, but because what MS have got there is incredible, and it is incredible. It's just insane that
it is, yeah.
That the pricing that Microsoft just announced I think it was last week. That this all access pass, which is most likely what I'm going to be going for day one, because I'm obviously unsuccessful to get a PS5 pre-order. But I'm thinking we could talk about that shambles as well. But I think if I can get a pre-order of the all access subscription for a Series X for I think it's $28.99. Day one, you've got Game Pass for Series X, which is like over 100 titles. And it kind of takes this big question mark over the retail price of games going forward kind of out of the equation, at least at launch, which is huge for the industry.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there, man, definitely. The whole idea of them doing that whole pay-up monthly thing with the Game Pass included was really, really smart. And the fact I've looked into the fine print of it, 0% AER on it means that they're not making any added bonus on top of it. So therefore, the third-party supplier they're going to be using, I think it's Klarna. They won't be making really any money off of that in comparison to what Microsoft will be. So.
Which is staggering, because they could have added like 2 or 3% APR onto that over the 2 years just to get some extra profits. But it's staggering. We've mentioned this on previous podcasts and previous shows as well, is like Microsoft are a like $1 trillion company, not $1 billion, $1 trillion company. But for Xbox, their strategy this year seems on the surface anyway, seems less about profit or maximizing profit, but more about getting access to as many people into the ecosystem as possible. And it is truly staggering because of the 0% interest to get you in there, and then hopefully you'll stay there and start paying for the services after you've essentially paid off your console. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, very true, very true.
So, Liban, you and I have been pretty much, I want to say, mostly PS4 this generation, even though last generation, I think we were both Xbox 360 first. Or I certainly was. Is this strategy swaying you more toward Xbox, or are you still going to be trying to get your PS5 like first? That's your first point.
Man, so the thing is, and especially with Xbox, so surprisingly, I've never actually owned an Xbox, right? Not because of like this whole console war or whatever people come up with or whatever. I've just never owned one. It's just how things turned out. I think if I was putting myself into the shoes of just a normal consumer or a parent who's looking to buy their kids a gift on Christmas, then this is super tempting. You know, especially during now this time where finances are kind of dire, people have lost their jobs. This is like the perfect solution to them, especially if you can have a monthly plan as well. This was super. I don't think people understand how smart this was from Xbox. Where the PS5 just came out with their price, and they were like, "Okay, here you go. This is what it's going to be." But it could pretend. I mean, I already got Games Pass PC, so I'm already playing some Xbox titles on there. But this could potentially sway me like into not just getting a PS5, but just getting an Xbox Series S as well at the same time. Because why not?
Cool. Yeah. Liam, quick side note. Can I get you to just turn your speaker volume down a little bit? We're getting a lot of audio bleed coming through. Sorry, buddy.
Sorry, dude.
No, it's okay.
Is that any better?
I think it's a wee bit better. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for that. You're Liam. Liban, you're absolutely right. The fact that you can jump into Game Pass, you can just dabble and sample a few games without any real risk of like being out of pocket for money is quite incredible. Liam, have you had any like diamonds that you've discovered through Game Pass at all?
I'm not on Xbox, unfortunately, just now. But when I get my PC, it's going to be one of the first things I've invested in because I've had a good wee look through it.
That's a good point. I forgot to that. So let's talk about that for a little bit. Game Pass on PC. So this is obviously like sparked your interest and get you really kind of interested in the ecosystem for Game Pass on PC, Liam.
Like I've had a good wee look on it, and like the most important thing to me is the content that's available. And having a look at it, there's a lot of games there that because I've not got an Xbox, it's got like a lot of like stuff there that I've not had the opportunity to play. So, for instance, State of Decay 2, that's sort of there. Like there's like Gears of War 5, stuff like that. All the exclusives are actually literally their day one is just like, yes, that is for me.
Yeah. It is mind blowing. It is mind blowing, absolutely. So to move on a little bit to the PS5 showcase as well, let's talk about Demon Souls.
Here it comes.
Demon Souls confirmed launch day game. So already you've got Miles Morales and Demon Souls as a launch day title for PS5. Bluepoint Games are the GOAT of remakes, it would seem. Liban, you've done a reaction video on your channel. Tell us your thoughts as to when you were watching that gameplay reveal.
First of all, like, all right, Demon Souls, it's not a recent game. It's a pretty old game. Fair enough. Like it's a PS3 title.
Very old game, yeah.
But what an upgrade that game got. Like, it just looks visually amazing. The lighting looks amazing. It still plays like a Dark Souls game. Like that Demon Souls game looks like it plays exactly the same way. Fair enough.
Yeah.
You don't want to change too much from what fans liked about the original, but
100%.
I think more than anyone, I was just blown away about how much time, how much effort, and how much care that Bluepoint puts into these remakes, and clearly the work has shown because it looks absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
And this is coming from a person. I'm not exactly a Souls player. I don't really like playing Souls games. I don't mind. I enjoy the challenge, but I never really finished them.
Yeah.
But the fact that this is day one, that's really big as well. I would like to pick that up.
Yeah. Liam, what was your thoughts on that?
I was mind blown. I'm not a Souls fan in the slightest. However, one of my buddies who is in the community with ourselves, I'm not sure if you're aware of the name Gary Campbell. I've literally had him on the phone the following day, just telling me how much he is fanboying about this because he himself, he's actually part of a YouTube channel, and he's actually done a deathless run in Demon Souls already before, like completed the game without dying, and he's trying to get me into it. Nice. Graphically, the game looks stunning. I can understand the mechanics behind it and why people are so excited for it, but it's a miss for me, unfortunately, because it's just it's too hard.
I think it seems like all three of us are in the camp where we can respect the Soulsborne games, Bloodborne and Dark Souls, Demon Souls, but we don't actually play them because they're so freaking hard. But I wish I could get fully behind them, but I suck so badly at them. But I love the design of them, the environment design, the aesthetic, the art direction of them. I think are beautiful, especially that Lovecraft Bloodborne on PS4. I just love the design, but bloody hell, no, I cannot play them at all.
The good thing about those games as well, a lot of people don't notice, is it's actually like they see it as open world, but what it is it's actually expertly crafted levels that are all just attached to each other, and it just
it's a Metroidvania. It's really a Metroidvania. And it took me a little while to get my head around that. It's like, oh yeah, God, it really is a Metroidvania, but just in like this third person like action game. And that's what I kind of really admire about the game as well. It's like you're finding new pathways to interconnect the different sections to unlock shortcuts in a true Metroidvania fashion. I 100% agree. I think that's why I love God of War reboot so much, because that is very much a Metroidvania as well. But it lulls you into thinking it's like this big open world game, but it's really not. It's a really tightly crafted Metroidvania, and I don't know about you guys, but I think Metroidvanias are my favorite style of game. There's been a whole bunch this generation as well. Almost to the point where, yes, open world games are great, and like games like The Witcher are phenomenal, but I think sometimes the sheer size and sprawlingness of open world games is so daunting, and the time investment that takes. Whereas I kind of prefer Metroidvanias because they're a bit more kind of tightly crafted. Anyway, a side ramble there.
No, I definitely agree with you there, man. Like, I'm going to say something very, very, like, risky. Okay. That is, I wasn't... Coming from probably the group's biggest Zelda fan right now, I wasn't a fan of Breath of the Wild.
I can... okay, explain, and we'll see who all agrees with you, and see if we can get, like, a fight night kind of battle royale going on in the conversation.
I'm more than likely going to get kicked for this group now. But the reasoning behind it is the first playthrough was fantastic. I loved the first playthrough. I have all the Zelda amiibos, obviously. I mean, come on, it's me. And literally did all the stuff, everything, got all the unlockables from the amiibos. Had a fantastic time with it the first time round. But then I went back for my second playthrough.
Okay.
And then when I went back for my second playthrough, I just felt the world was barren. Like, there wasn't a lot there, and what was there, it was just sort of copy and paste from one part of the map to another section. Okay. And then it just felt like, even just something as simple as, like, you know how to go and get the teardrops and stuff like that, so that way you can upgrade your health and stuff like that. It's just the puzzles there either weren't challenging enough, or they were just over the top ridiculous.
Okay.
And it didn't feel. I hate saying this, but it just didn't feel like the experience I went in hoping for.
How do you think it stacks up compared to like the previous generations, which were a bit, not previous generations, but previous games in the Zelda franchise, where they were a bit more traditional, where you had this like hub kind of area, and then it was dungeons and those kind of crafted experiences, rather than a big sprawling open world, systemically strong, but maybe a little bit barren and a little bit empty.
I'd probably say the best example of it being quite barren and empty, but following the old formula, was Twilight Princess. But Twilight Princess itself, when that first came out, that was the largest map in a Zelda game ever.
Sure.
And the game itself was phenomenal because it had more of a story. Like, when you start Breath of the Wild, for instance, you've been dead for 100 years. This is Hyrule. Go kill Ganon. And if you want the story, you need to go find these specific places to go take pictures.
Sure.
But if you don't need to get the story. But the story is what grips you. That's what gets you inside the mind of the character. Yeah. That's what I feel so important. And the fact that, like, the open world this was because that's obviously what we were discussing, was the whole idea of an open world game. I do feel that what the rumours are for Breath of the Wild 2, if they are true, I am going to be both excited yet nervous at the same time.
Yeah.
Because the rumours that I've heard apparently are they are meant to be going back to, like, they're going to be keeping it open world-ish, but they're going to be doing it like the very Dark Souls-y, tightly crafted level way, and then from there a lot darker, sort of like darker than Majora's Mask, which I'm just like, oh yes.
Yeah, Liban, do you because you're a big fan of Breath of the Wild as well. Do you think that they sacrificed the tightness of the storytelling for that big open world vision of Hyrule?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I 100% agree. I think that they accomplished what they set out to do in, yes, we have this massive world to explore. Yes, you can actually go wherever the hell you want. You know, straight as soon as you get off the Great Plateau, if you want to go fight Ganon, which I tried, you can go do that.
Ass handed to you twice.
Yeah, absolutely, I got wrecked. Yeah, but in doing so, obviously, the main issue here is that you could go anywhere, but that means your story could start from anywhere at the same time.
Yeah.
And so because there's no direction really to pull you in to really make you engaged or immerse you in the narrative, that's where they really fell short, and it's a shame.
Yeah.
Because if they were able to figure out a more direct story and somehow keep that open world gameplay that they wanted, I think Breath of the Wild would have been a lot better. It's a lot tighter overall.
Yeah. But we're both all excited for, as Liam says, we're both excited for Breath of the Wild 2, but also a little bit tentative. And we're getting Age of Calamity, Hyrule Warriors, which is going to fill in a lot of the backstory stuff as well. So that could be quite interesting.
That I'm excited for. I'm not a huge fan of Dynasty Warriors, but I'm excited to get more of the story, like the champions and stuff like that. And I just feel it's going to be worth the wait, hopefully. Because even though they didn't really fill a lot of the story in, I still had an instant connection with some of the champions. Like, I can't remember the bird one. Was it Ravio or something like that his name was?
I think so, yeah.
Like, I love
the bird, yeah.
He's so sassy and he's great.
Awesome. So I'm trying to think what came next after Demon's Souls in the PlayStation 5 showcase. I think it was.
Oh my God, there was
it then Call of Duty?
So many
that?
games.
I can't remember. It was always.
To be fair, I think Call of Duty. I think Call of Duty was actually after Hogwarts. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
Call of Duty.
Yeah.
It was Hogwarts, Call of Duty, Demon's Souls,
and then something else after that.
There was something else after that. I can't remember. So before we boost on to the Nintendo Direct for our next chat, then let's talk briefly about we finally got the prices of the console. So it is for the first time in a long time, the UK market is in phase 2 of the launch. That rarely ever happens, and it is obviously because of COVID and the pandemic and production pipelines and everything like that. So November 12th for a vast majority of the world, and then the UK and the rest of the world is November 19th. But the prices are, I'm just going to list the UK prices, it's £449.99, so round it up, £450. Same price as the Series X, but the digital version is, this really surprised me actually, I wasn't expecting this, to only be £360. What do you guys think about the pricing strategy there?
It's interesting because, like, I initially thought that the PS5 would actually reach 500.
Sure.
And that the digital version would be 450. So this is super surprising. I'm not sure if that cost difference is the cost difference of a Blu-ray drive, because that's massive.
Sure.
But I think the biggest thing here is that they're basically just saying that, it's the same PS5, just minus this. So you're still going to get all the bells and whistles regardless. But I mean, 450 is still a really good price. It's not your PS3 600. Where everything just fell apart.
Sony got hammered so badly for that. They will never ever release hardware for 600 ever again. Forget it. It's not going to happen.
But I think especially now, I think it's a very doable price. It's cheaper than the Series X, and the digital version is still at a price where it's easier to pick up as well. So
Yeah.
not bad, Sony, not bad. I think they did good there.
Yeah. Liam, what are your thoughts on the pricing?
So initially, I was thinking these guys are holding out to see who's going to do it first. So it's
Yeah.
sort of like, like even though they're showing like a sort of like it's not a war anymore, they're sort of they love each other as companies, they respect each other, and it was more of a like, no, you do it first, no, you do it first, sort of thing. And then when the news of the Microsoft price leak happened, that's when they were like, oh no, we can't do what we were planning on doing and holding out anymore, and they had to release the price.
Yeah.
From there, Sony's been like, right, what we need to do is if their price is going to be too high, we can undercut them. Or if their price is just about right, we can match that price pretty much. And that's exactly what they've done there.
Yeah.
Obviously with the Series S, the mini version pretty much, that the thing I was really impressed with, the fact that's 250, and that there itself, it's like, fair enough, it's not as powerful a console, but the fact that Sony's went down like, oh, we're just maybe about £100 more, and you're getting the big console just without a disc tray, I was just like, wow.
Yeah, it's incredible, because the thing that a lot of people forget, and I certainly do, and I know a lot of my friends do, because, well, we're fortunate enough to have like our 4K televisions now, but a vast audience, like still like hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people are still rocking a very good 1080 TV setup in their home. So the Series S is a phenomenal entry point for that, because it's still a beast of a console. It's got near enough the same CPU stats. I think it's slightly under, but not by much. It's still got the same SSD. The GPU is a little bit less powerful, but it's still a monster. And it is £250 is just staggering for 1080 gaming and going into the next gen. Absolutely mind blowing. Yeah. I think I'm for the price of the Series X and Sony's like counter to that. I think Liban is probably right. And I was expecting it to come in at 500, but because the Series X came in at 450, Sony have had to match it. But I think their intention would have been 500 max, like $499, and it is $499, but I think for the UK £499 as well. And I just wish that they had been a little bit more forthcoming like earlier, because it's frustrating for consumers. This like, will they, won't they, when it's like that, the old saying, either like shit or get off the pot kind of phrase. Whenever there is like an Apple keynote announcement, or like a Galaxy announcement, they have their keynote announcements, they just announce the price that they think the product is going to be, or it should be valued at, regardless of what the strategy is from their competitors. It's like, okay, Apple, when the iPhone X came out a couple of years ago, we believe that this is the first $1,000 phone. That's what we're presenting it at. That's what we're pitching it at. And then Galaxy came out with, I think, what was it like? It was like $1,300 when they increased their specs and all this kind of stuff. Yes, it's escalating. But ultimately, they were releasing their prices regardless of what the competitors were really doing or what they thought. Rather than trying to undercut each other and diminish your brand, they were saying, okay, no, we believe in the power of this machine and the experiences you're going to get on this machine. This is what we think it should be valued at. And I understand trying to play chicken is like, okay, but we want to steal sales from Xbox over to PS5 and vice versa. So we're delaying as much as possible. But on a consumer level, it's just so frustrating.
Not understandable.
I'm thinking that maybe when they were doing, I mean, obviously first and foremost, they were just waiting to undercut Microsoft 100%. Like that's one. I think essentially what happened was that they probably put together that showcase, I think, months before, so it was all edited and ready to go. And then once Xbox had their leak in terms of the prices, obviously someone jumped right into the editing room and just went, because you see the way they announced the prices, I just found really weird. Like it was all video footage of like the PlayStation 5 and all these different angles, all the footage you saw before, and then just one like pop on all the prices. So I just feel like that was kind of thrown in last minute.
I agree with that entirely.
And then in turn, this obviously led to the whole craziness with pre-orders and such.
Oh man, yeah. I think you're right, Liban. It felt like such an afterthought. Whereas, had they planned to, if they had opened up the show with the prices straight away and then go straight into the games, I can imagine that we would have had more of these game releases saying Spider-Man Miles Morales launch day, Demon Souls launch day.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
My
It's
point.
like if it's just kicked off with saying here's the prices, here's the release date, straight into the games from there, and then we would know for certain, okay, this game is coming out the same day as the console, rather than this kind of cryptic. Okay, well, what are the launch day lineups? Well, we still know. Well, we know now, but at the time, it was completely unknown. And Liam, what are your thoughts on the complete and utter shit show that the pre-ordering has transpired into? Because now even people that have placed a pre-order with like Amazon or other retailers, they're now getting emails to say we may not be able to fulfill this order. It may come at some point, but we don't know when.
Jeez. Like, I knew it was coming. I'm not gonna lie, I knew this was coming because on the lead up to this, Sony have been turning around and like, oh, we're going to be able to do it. We're going to be able to. Yeah. We've got the consoles. Don't worry, it's going to happen. You're going to get it. And no, a lot of people aren't going to get their consoles now because Sony completely underestimated themselves, which I think is a nice thing in a way because they've underestimated themselves as a company. They were like, right, we're maybe only going to be able to sell, like, push this amount of units over like Q4 2020.
Yeah.
And that's what they've obviously got made, obviously, with the limitations, COVID and stuff like that as well. It makes things a lot harder for them to actually have more people within the factories to make the consoles.
Sure.
And I 100% understand why it would be such a big deal to a lot of people and stuff like that. But with the way the world is just now, it's of course going to be harder to get stuff like that. I won't be surprised if it's going to be the exact same with Microsoft when the Xbox pre-orders open up. It's probably going to be the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at least Microsoft have been a little bit more structured with it to say, okay, here's when you can pre-order, rather than retailers coming and saying, oh shit, you can pre-order now, like at midnight or something, or 5 o'clock or whenever it was at various parts of the world. And then people are waking up the next day saying, what the fuck happened? I was ready to apparently pre-orders happened and now everywhere is sold out. Yeah, it's bit of a mess.
Yeah, I think Sony just tried a bit too hard watching Microsoft rather than organizing their own pre-order situation. You know, I just love how Xbox tweeted out maybe like the following day, like just dunked on PlayStation. You know, it's like, here's when the console's coming out. Here's when pre-orders are going to start. Yeah, we'll keep you updated. That got me. That was great.
It was just like saying, guys, you screwed the pooch. This is how you do it. This is how you communicate with your audience and how to get stuff. Yeah.
It's just like every generation. There's always something that messes up somewhere. Like this year, it's Sony's pre-orders. Last year, it was last gen, it was the DVR with the Xbox One. And I remember Sony, literally when Microsoft were like, you cannot share games with your friends.
God, yeah.
Yeah, and literally the next day. In fact, I think it was the same night at E3.
Yeah.
It was like two Sony execs. They were like, how you share games for your friends on PlayStation 4? And he just passed them a copy of a case. He's like, thanks!
Yeah.
And that was it.
It was throwing shade like crazy, wasn't it? It was really funny. Really funny. Reevesy in the chat is saying, it's creating that sense of demand for the console, and that is what Sony would want. Well, yes, it is, but it's also deeply frustrating for consumers as well. So
I think, I mean, to be fair, I mean, the console is going to be in demand regardless.
Yeah.
You know, even if they were just to say, this is the date you can pre-order, it's going to be out of stock anyway. Yeah. You know, even for myself, I'm not like, I registered interest in a console back at their first event in June. Is that right?
Yes.
June, right? So June, and so even up to now, I'm still not sure if even I will get it for launch day. Yeah. So it's very shaky. I mean, they don't need to create that demand because the demand's already there.
Yeah.
People have been on their case about when are we going to get it? What's the price? When is it coming out? Mm-hmm. So if they just simply said, okay, pre-orders go live, and of course to give Sony a bit of credit, sometimes retailers will just do whatever they want. It can happen, break street dates for game releases and such.
Yep.
But if they just, even if it was just a tweet, you know, they just said, okay, pre-orders will go live on this date at this time in these territories, that would have been so much more better.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you, buddy. Right, so that has been a good chat about the PS5 showcase. Let's jump into really the next topic, which is frankly the only reason that Liam's here, because he is a huge Nintendo fan. And it is the Nintendo Direct Mini, which Nintendo just dropping these bombs, just these like announcements the day before. Oh yeah, guys, we're going to do a Nintendo Direct like tomorrow. Tune in. This was incredible. So Liam, I'll let you take the forum for now and give us your thoughts on what were you expecting going into this, and then as you were watching it unfold, what were you thinking?
So initially, I had no clue what to expect. It was a partner showcase. So partner showcases, it's obviously not going to be first party games. So I went into my mind knowing no Breath of the Wild, no like Metroid Prime news, nothing like that.
Yeah.
I was thinking potentially maybe a wee bit of Bayonetta free update would be quite nice right now.
What's happened to that game? I mean, what's going on with that game? Is it coming out like ever now?
Honestly, I don't even think Platinum know what's happening with that game right now.
I know.
But genuinely, like I went in and I was like, hopefully a wee bit of that, but I'm going to keep my mind open because they've always had like all these wee indie games come out of nowhere, and they've always been really, really well taken on. Like for instance, Spiritfarer, which got announced at the last one.
Yeah, man. Have you played Spiritfarer, guys? Have you played it at all?
Yeah, I've got it on PS4.
And it is beautiful, right? Yeah, it's a beautiful little game. Absolutely beautiful. Sorry, anyway.
Yeah, and that's cool. So like, I was expecting something like that, and then the fact that they just opened up, and then it was like all of a sudden there's Ori, the Will of the Wisps, and I'm just like, no way.
Yeah.
I knew it was going to come eventually because we got the first one.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it was going to be this soon.
That was one of my highlights as well, because I loved it on Xbox. As soon as it came to Switch, I immediately got it, played it in both docked and handheld, but even handheld it felt so good to play it. It's just perfect for the Switch platform. And I was desperately hoping that Will of the Wisp would make it. I was expecting it to be probably next year, because it only just came out on Xbox in March. So I was thinking, okay, they're probably going to port it next year. And then at the end of the Direct, they said, available today. Okay, immediately jump onto the store, get it downloaded and bought. Yeah, awesome stuff.
Yeah, that was an incredible stealth drop. Absolutely incredible. I was not expecting that at all. There was like a couple of wee things here and there. Obviously, to be honest, I've been feeling like Nintendo have been like sort of like I love the fact they're giving us more frequent updates in smaller quantities, like smaller sizes and things like that. Because for so long we didn't have a Nintendo Direct. It was like nearly a year. We waited unless it was like specified towards a game like Pokemon or something like that. And now that we're getting these wee partner showcases, it's been awesome, but there's a lot of stuff in there that, like for instance, the indie worlds, they've been really amazing, because I feel like you've got more of a inclining to buy indie games these days, because the designers on the indie games do focus a lot more on the quality over the name, pretty much. And this Direct, it was okay. I wouldn't say it was the best, but when it hit the part that I'm sure we're going to get to shortly, that's where I blew up.
So they opened up with an incredible surprise banger with Monster Hunter Rise. I got to be honest, I did a live reaction video and made a bit of a tit of myself, because when it opened up with the wolf galloping along the terrain, the environment, for some reason my mind immediately went to Twilight Princess remake. I don't know why, but that's immediately what I thought. I thought, holy shit, are they bringing Twilight Princess? Are they just going to drop Twilight Princess on us? And of course, it turned out to be a Monster Hunter game. But when that show reel played, showing you the new traversal mechanics for Monster Hunter, showing that it was a brand new brand new game for Switch in Monster Hunter, I was blown away by that, like super blown away. Liban, are you a Monster Hunter fan, buddy? What were your thoughts on that?
So my Monster Hunter experience is limited. I played Monster Hunter 3, I believe, on the 3DS. And I've tried out a little bit of Monster Hunter World as well. But that was hype, man. That was so much hype. I think it's very interesting that, these Monster Hunter games, between whatever comes out on Nintendo's consoles or whatever comes out on other platforms are different. And I'm not really sure of the bigger reason behind that. Not that it's a negative or anything. Like I always assume that Monster Hunter World or some form of that would come to the Switch. Maybe not on that kind of scale because of the power difference between the platforms. But a new Monster Hunter game on Switch, yeah, sign me up. I'm ready to jump back in again, hunt some monsters. Let's do this. Yeah.
Were either of you blown away by how good the game looked for the Switch and how smooth it seemed to run? And I was really surprised. I mean, yes, it doesn't look as good as like the new games coming out, but for the little Switch, it looked seriously on a technical level really impressive.
Yeah, I was hugely impressed. Like graphically, it looks really good. Like, have you played Generations on the Switch? Like Monster Hunter Generations?
No, I haven't. That came out just last year before maybe?
About 2 years ago. Monster Hunter Generations. It was a remake of one that was on the PS4 in Japan. They remade it for here.
Okay.
And honestly, it's phenomenal graphically. The Monster Hunter games that are out on the Switch already are stunning, absolutely stunning. I don't know if you know this, but I'm a big Monster Hunter fan. I've been playing since the first one came out in the PS2, where it was literally a twin stick, and it was so hard. Because it was like the left stick to move, and the right stick you had to move it in like left to right, up to down to actually like either hit or hit with your swords and stuff like that.
Okay, right, yeah.
Yeah, and then but graphically stunning. The whole new movement mechanics look interesting. I thought it was a different game at the start as well. You were thinking Zelda, I was thinking the Pokemon DLC.
Cool.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Even like the pre-order bonuses for this look absolutely adorable. You can get a Labrador for your dog rather than having a big wolfhound, and I was just like, yes.
Yeah.
I would happily ride around in a Labrador all day.
Yeah. Palicos are so last year. To screw the Palicos, we want doggos. We want doggo mounts. That's what we want.
Oh, brilliant. And it's the fact that that's like something that they've brought over from World, because like in World was the first time you got tail mounts, and like because there wasn't really a thing as mounts in Monster Hunter, but it made sense with World, see, because it was like an MMO and it was a lot bigger in comparison to what you got with like the regular Monster Hunter games, because it's usually quite a smaller map. And with this one, with the fact they've brought the mounts back, I've got a feeling the map for this is going to be massive.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense because you're no longer on foot. You can move faster. You can cover greater terrain at speed. So yeah, it makes sense that the map would have to be expanded upon as well. So next up was the second mind-blowing Monster Hunter game. Not one, but two Monster Hunter reveals in a direct is just insane. But again, so this is Monster Hunter Stories is a spin-off franchise I had no idea even existed. I thought it was just Monster Hunter, that was it. But Stories 2 got announced. It's got that Breath of the Wild style. I absolutely love the look of this. You are a wing rider, I think you're supposed to be, or some kind of beast rider. And it looks amazing as well. I don't really know what else to say other than it looks amazing. So I'm going to hand over to the pro, which is Liam on Monster Hunter.
Oh, you put me on the spot. Like when it comes to stories, I didn't really get into stories myself. I knew it existed, but I never got round to it. I was more like at the point when it came to like Monster Hunter Stories, I was more in the lines of just sitting still trying to get to my S rank on my generations and stuff like that. But from what I have played of Stories, it's well worth checking out. The gameplay itself is really good. It feels more like an RPG than it does an action-adventure game, just sort of like Monster Hunter usually is. Storyline's really class, as you expect from a Capcom game, really. And it's well advised. That's definitely one that you should check out if you get a chance.
Yeah. Liban, what did you think when you saw Stories get announced?
I think, I thought obviously just the same as you. I didn't actually know the Monster Hunter Stories games existed. I didn't even know they even had a kind of like a different kind of style of Monster Hunter games there, but it actually did look really, 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 really good. I can understand, obviously, just from obviously seeing what we saw, I can understand why they're making a sequel or they're adding another game to it. It just looks like something that I could really get into. So I'm not sure if, because it's a Monster Hunter Stories 2, if I need to play the first one to get what's going on, or if it's a continuation or anything like that.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it looks like I'm jumping into Monster Hunter Stories first. Then, yeah.
Oh yeah, man. Oh, yeah.
It does look amazing. And to quickly wrap up this segment, we got a game I was hoping would get ported, and it is Sniper Elite 4 by Rebellion Studios. So I'm a big Sniper Elite fan. I loved Sniper Elite 4 on the PS4. It is just such a great sandbox, like Hitman style of sandbox, like huge maps. The whole thing is co-op, so I don't know if this is going to be co-op on the Switch. I would love it to be if it is. But even if it isn't, Sniper Elite on Switch just seems like a great little addition to have, and that's coming out in December. Are you guys fans of Sniper Elite?
I'm a fan of the whole shooting from 100 miles away, and it goes flying towards the enemy and then cracks their body.
Yeah,
that's what I'm a fan of.
X-ray.
I'm not sure which.
Right? Yeah. Shoot guys in the balls. That's what it's all about.
Exactly. I'm not sure if it was 2 or 3 I played on the PlayStation 4. But visually, the games have always looked good. Gameplay-wise, they've always been pretty fun to play as well. And I think obviously their biggest selling point are these like kind of extravagant slow-mo kills.
Yeah.
And I think that's obviously a staple of the Sniper Elite games. But I did have fun when I did play one or the other. I'm not sure which one it was.
Sniper Elite 4 was such a huge improvement over 3 because they finally went into these huge open worlds. 3 was quite linear in its maps, but 4 properly gave you this huge sandbox to mess around in.
Right.
So I'm super excited to see how it performs on the Switch as well, because it could be a really great little not budget title, but you know what I mean. It's like one of those games where it's like that the double A like indie title, which is punching above its weight. It's actually a really great title. So yeah, I'm excited for that as well. So let's talk very briefly to wrap up the show about Cyberpunk 2077 and Night City Wire Episode 3 was just last night. Guys, how is this game possible? How? It just looks so incredible. It looks massive. So massive, so detailed. There is so much stuff going on in this game. What?
Well, like, you want to go the first, Liban?
I need to collect my thoughts and go first.
No worries. So, like, I've not been watching them because I'm trying to avoid stuff.
I understand.
I'm just trying to go in fresh-minded and just rock it. But from what I know, it's CD Projekt Red. That's the first and foremost thing. It's CD Projekt Red. They are known for their quality. That is a huge pedigree. Initially, I've been following this game since it got announced because I'm a fan of Netrunner, which is where the Cyberpunk series is an abridgment from. And the Cyberpunk series itself, I adore. So I was following this nervously to start off with, and then I heard at the start how much they were going to be doing. Like initially, the character creation has changed from what I've seen.
Okay.
Initially, when it first came out, the character creation was going to be your tabletop style character creation, where you get to get all your spec points, set your points up, choose all your pluses, choose all your negatives, choose if you want to be like a net runner, choose if you want to be like a techno dwarf or something like that. But then it's just sort of like they've changed it, but it still looks like it's going to be really in depth, and I'm hyped as hell for this. But this is the thing that's killing me. I'm holding out. I'm going to hold out until about December.
Well, I'm just going to hold this up. There you go. Look at that. The world of Cyberpunk 77. I've got a full unboxing video on the channel for this book, guys. Check it out. It's so I was expecting this to just be a concept art book, because you guys know I'm a huge collector of concept art books. I've got them all over my studio. But this is actually more of an encyclopedia. Think of the Legend of Zelda like encyclopedia book that you can get, which is all about the lore of Legend of Zelda. It's kind of like that. Yeah, see, the man's got it. The man's got it off camera. It's like that. It tells you everything about the gangs, their history, their education, how they recruit. It goes into the different boroughs of Night City, and it is massive. There's all these different regions, which gangs operate in which borough. And it tells you about the corporations which are operating in Night City, the different car brands that are operating there, how they advertise to you, like the marketing. There's like fake posters in the book as well. It just looks an incredible evolution of world building that they established with The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, and then straight into this science fiction world for Cyberpunk. Looks like it is when we see the funny little like glow up posts of a person when they were a kid to like the professional status what they are now, these glow ups. Think of Cyberpunk 2077 as like the ultimate glow up of a studio that started with the Witcher series. It is absolutely incredible, and it looks amazing, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it. But I'm constantly staggered by not only how good the game looks on a technical, graphical level, but marry that with the sheer scale and the detail of the game. You just think, how the hell is this possible? I'm genuinely kind of speechless about it, and it's been in development for what feels like forever, and I still can't believe that it's coming out this year in just a couple of months. Anyway, yeah, mental, absolutely mental.
Yeah, for sure, man.
So
yeah, I mean, I was just impressed with like how dense it was. You know, it's crazy how they were able to. They make you feel like Night City could potentially be a real place, which is kind of cool and kind of scary at the same time. You know, they managed to really put together this kind of breathing world where so many things are happening. You know, they named every street in the game. Apparently, that was like, what? You know, that's a lot. I mean, I mean, their reasoning was it's kind of interesting to me. Where it's like, you know, if I came up to one of you and I'd be like, oh, do you know what happened on what do they call it, Poplar Street?
Yeah.
You know, I had this running with a gang on Poplar Street. Have you seen them? Like, which is pretty interesting. Like, that's a really good way of kind of looking at it. But
I'm hoping
even afterwards, when they announced, even afterwards, even when they announced like the PC specs and how big the game was, I was actually surprised that I felt like it was actually a lot smaller than it was. I felt like it was supposed to be a lot bigger because they only announced that, what was it, between 70 to 90 gig. Which is actually pretty small considering how big the game itself is. And we're not just talking about Night City. There's so much stuff outside the city as well, in the Outlands. So that was mind blowing. I feel like CD Projekt Red is just dunking on everyone lately.
They are. Going back to those street names, I really hope. And it sounds like they are like really leaning into that form of navigation, where it's not markers everywhere, or they may have that as an option because people do like the icons telling them where to go. But I'm hoping that if you do like a no HUD option or a minimal HUD option, the way that the NPCs interact with you and explain things and talk about things within the world, you've got these landmarks that you begin to know the whole layout of the city, so you're not relying on, oh fuck, I need to pull up the map again, like where do I go? Or you've got the GPS line leading you to somewhere. Almost like what I love about Ghost of Tsushima, where the navigation system in that is so elegant that you get these little gusts of wind which lead you to your waypoint essentially, but you start to know the world like so well. It's like you don't really need a marker point or anything like that. It's like, okay, yeah, it's just round that corner and then second left and then straight ahead past the strippers on toward the nightclub, and then it's just behind the nightclub, that kind of thing, you know, which I'm really hoping that you get that sense of familiarity with Night City. I'm so excited for this game.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Yeah. So guys, final thoughts on everything this week.
It's been pretty insane, yeah. Literally. PlayStation came through finally. Nintendo thought, oh, we'll join the party too. Here's a direct.
Yeah.
With the Monster Hunter games. And those announcements, and then CD Projekt Red are like, oh, we'll jump in on this too. And then I think we're gonna get one more episode of Night City Wire. I'm not 100% sure. Actually, no, we are. Excuse me. Yes, we are. We're getting episode 4, which I like to think is the last one. Otherwise, they'll pretty much be showing us everything in the game.
I think the game's so big, we're still not scratching the surface of it.
Absolutely, but I think now that we know what's coming at launch, sort of, for these next gen consoles. We finally got the prices, so it feels like things are finally starting to move along in that respect. I'm happy Nintendo are doing these kind of directs. I hope they do it more, because there was a period of time where they weren't doing anything, which is probably the longest period where they haven't had a direct. But if they were to do these every other month or so, I'll be cool with that.
Yeah.
I'd expect PlayStation will bring back their State of Play as well to go along with that too. But it's been insane. It's been a pretty insane week. And we got TGS next week as well.
Oh my God, yeah.
I forgot about that.
TGS next week. And actually what we haven't even mentioned, but we probably should, is like PAX with EGX Digital is running from, I think it was September 12th right to the September 20th. So that's on just now, which is available online on their website. And they're giving you this virtual show floor where you can download demos and go straight to the stands, like these virtual stands for each of the developers and publishers. And if you've got a PC with Steam, you can get direct downloads of some of the demos which you would normally get hands-on time at a gaming convention. So that's worth checking out as well. So damn, guys, thank you very much for joining me today in this our very first community group chat. I'm hoping to do more of these because this is really, really good fun. It's been absolutely great. And to the viewers that are watching us, thank you for tuning in. If you've enjoyed this broadcast, then do remember to give us a like, give us a share. If you're following up later on YouTube, hit subscribe, ring the notification bell. And until next week, happy gaming, and we'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.